Today moving to endocrine system, human endocrine system, and the first one we are going to cover is thyroid gland. Origin, it's the endoderm of embryo. Endoderm is the germ layer. Then location and structure. What we know about thyroid is it is the largest endocrine gland. Largest endocrine gland. And secondly, this is located anterior to the thyroid cartilage of the larynx in the neck region. There are two lobes which are connected by a narrow structure called isthmus, and it is made up of follicles as well. So connective tissue which forms the stroma of the gland is mainly present here, located in the neck region, lobular. It has two lobes connected with a narrow structure known as isthmus. ISTHMUS. Next is we are talking about the hormones secreted. Structure isthmus. Talking about hormones. When we talk about hormones, it secretes three hormones. The number one is thyroxine. Then is tetrahydrothyronin, and we call it T4. Then is triiodothyronin. Triiodothyronin, and this is T3. So these three are secreted from here, thyroid gland. This thyroxine, tetra and tri, which are secreted by thyroid follicular cells. Then is thyrocalcitonin, another hormone. It is secreted by the C cells of thyroid gland. So this is the source for its origin. Clear? Secreted by the C cells of thyroid gland. Alright? When we are talking about in detail, we first have to discuss about what is their role, what do they do in the body. Now, moving to thyroxine. That means T4 and T3. What they all do? They contain 4 or 3 atoms of iodine. 4 atoms of iodine, 3 atoms of iodine. This is how we have to remember it. 4 atoms of iodine and 3 atoms of iodine. Therefore, they are named T3 and T4 respectively. You know, T3 is secreted in small amount, but it is very, very active, much more active. Secreted in small amount but is more active compared to T4, and they have the similar effect on the target cells. They are considered together as thyroid hormone. TH hormone includes everything. Now, thyroid gland is the only gland that stores this hormone in large quantity. And what do they do? Functions. That is their role. Regulate the metabolic rate of body. What do we understand by metabolic rate of body? It means maintaining the basal metabolic rate, BMR, of the body, where we get to know how our organs are functioning. Then stimulate protein synthesis and therefore promote the growth of body tissues. जब हमारी बॉडी में प्रोटीन बढ़ता है ना तो बॉडी टिश्यूज़ की ग्रोथ होती है. What it helps in checking? The growth of body tissues. Number 3, increase heat production. अगर बॉडी में हीट प्रोड्यूस होगी तो क्या मेंटेन रहेगा? बॉडी टेम्परेचर, राइट. Number 4, regulate the development of mental facilities, mental faculty, so that the body acts normally. All right. Another function, they also increase the action of neurotransmitters. Increase the action of neurotransmitter. We have read these neurotransmitters already. Acetylcholine, so here I am writing adrenaline and noradrenaline. They are active due to this thyroid gland or the thyroid hormones. Clear? Then is the role by thyrocalcitonin that we have discussed, secreted by C cells. So thyrocalcitonin, क्या वर्ड आया इसमें? कैल्सी, that means calcium. So it is secreted when calcium level is high in the blood. It is secreted when calcium level is high in the blood. Then what it does? Lowers the calcium level. How? By suppressing the release of calcium ions from the bones. Its release, by suppressing its release from the bones. Thus thyrocalcitonin acts opposite to the parathyroid hormone on calcium metabolism. Alright, this thyrocalcitonin is also known as calcitonin, so don't get confused. If we use the word thyrocalcitonin or calcitonin, it means one and the same thing. It is a peptide which contains 32 amino acids. Okay, now coming to the disorders of this thyroid gland. First is hyperthyroidism. Hyper means hypersecretion of thyroid hormone. So in this we have generally studied about exothalamic goiter or a Graves' disease. It occurs due to the enlargement of the thyroid. Let's discuss goiter. That is exothalamic goiter. exothalamic goiter, or we call it Graves' disease. Why does it occur and how does it occur? Basically, it is a thyroid enlargement in which the thyroid secretes excessive amount of thyroid hormone. How do we get to know? The symptoms that appear, these include protrusion of eyeballs, protrusion of eyeballs, that means puffed up or very much appearing eyeballs. ये क्यों होता है? ये हो जाता है because of fluid accumulation behind them. Eyeballs के पीछे एक fluid की accumulation हो जाती है because of fluid accumulation behind them. And what else is observed? This fluid is accumulated, then automatically the eyes got protruded. One factor. Loss of weight, another factor. There is a slight rise in the body temperature, then excitability, okay, then nervousness, restlessness, this is all because of the hyperthyroidism. Okay, now we are moving to hypothyroidism, that is hyposecretion, undersecretion. हाइपो मीन्स अंडर सिक्रीशन. इसमें हम पहली जो प्रॉब्लम करते हैं उसको बोलते हैं क्रेटिनिज्म, CRETINISM. This is caused by the deficiency of thyroid hormone, basically in babies, infants. Deficiency of thyroid hormone in infants, and this kind of baby has a slow body growth, slow mental development, reduced metabolic rate. So symptoms basically which are shown here, this is slow body growth, slow mental development, reduced metabolic rate, okay. There are many other disorders such as slow heartbeat as well, lower BP, decrease in temperature, stunted growth, pot belly. I'll write few जो बहुत important है. Slow heartbeat, पॉट बेली होता है, स्टंटेड ग्रोथ होती है, पिजिंग चेस्ट आता है इसमें. दिस इज वेरी कैरेक्टरिस्टिक फीचर. एंड प्रोट्रूडिंग टंग, रिटार्डेड सेक्शुअल डेवलपमेंट. Basically when it occurs in babies, no, it can be easily treated when we treat it at the earliest by providing thyroid hormone. So children with this kind of problem are to be detected at the earliest and are to be corrected. Then moving to another one जो हम सब ने पढ़ा है, सुना है, that is simple goiter. Simple goiter. Simple goiter is basically because of the deficiency of iodine in our diet, because iodine is necessary for the synthesis of thyroid hormone. If iodine is not provided, what will happen? Obviously thyroid enlargement, it may then lead to cretinism, And another problem that we are just going to discuss, myxedema. This disease is common in hilly areas, and addition of iodine in the table salt prevents this disease. That we know, simple goiter. Now this myxedema, this we have already done. It is also caused by the deficiency of thyroid hormone. Deficiency of thyroid hormone. It is characterized by puffy appearance due to accumulation of fat in the tissue, and when there is low metabolic rate, automatically fat accumulates. This is fat accumulation. And then patient lacks alertness, intelligence, and patient also suffers from slow heartbeat. Functions are all the more same. Okay, the only big difference is puffy appearance and lack of alertness. Person believes to be a bit slow in all the activities and slow in taking up any initiative. So here the body seems more lethargic in myxedema compared to cretinism. Fine. This is about thyroid gland, and now we are moving to parathyroid gland. Parathyroid gland. In parathyroid gland, it also originates from the endoderm of embryo. Next is location and structure. When we talk about location, we say it consists of 4 separate glands. 4 separate glands which are located on the posterior surface of the lobes of the thyroid gland. See, let me discuss the position a bit. If we are saying this is the esophagus region and then is the trachea. Wait a minute, I'll draw the esophagus region and the trachea from the posterior side. This way. And this is trachea. This one is trachea. Okay. And the upper black one is esophagus. So we are showing lobular structure. This is the posterior side of pharynx. This is not the body and the neck. Posterior side of pharynx. Clear? Now here, these are the units. ये जो मैं 2 glands बना रही हूँ, this is thyroid gland. Okay, I'm marking it here. It's thyroid gland. And over there only, ये जो बीच में 2 black dots हैं इस तरफ और जो black dots हैं इस तरफ. Okay, these are the parathyroid ones. Parathyroid glands. They lie on the posterior surface of the thyroid gland. Okay. Lie on the posterior surface of thyroid gland. Now, as we have done, there are 4 separate glands located on the posterior surface, and the cells of the parathyroid are arranged in a compact mass. इसके ना 2 टाइप्स बन जाती हैं, चीफ सेल और प्रिंसिपल सेल की. क्लियर? or we say that cells or the lobes of parathyroid gland are enclosed by a delicate membrane tissue, which is connective tissue actually, and we call it capsule. What do we call it? Capsule. And the chief cells in it, they are more active. Alright, and they are absent in young and appear a little before the age of puberty. Now, chief cells of the parathyroid secrete a hormone called parathyroid hormone. So the hormone secreted here is PTH, which stands for parathyroid hormone. Secreted by chief cells. This hormone, after the name of its discoverer, Collip, the hormone regulates the calcium and phosphate balance between the blood and the other tissues. It maintains or regulates the calcium and phosphate balance between the blood and the other tissues. Okay, maintains calcium and phosphorus balance between the blood as well as the other tissues. ये करता है हमारा parathyroid. And they are under the feedback control of blood calcium level as well. What basically PTH does? Here we are going to list up the role of PTH. This hormone regulates calcium and phosphate balance, number 2, it inhibits collagen synthesis. Then it also mobilizes the release of calcium into the blood from the bones. So it increases calcium reabsorption from the nephrons. It mobilizes the release of calcium into blood. Therefore, increases calcium resorption from the nephron. Resorption from the nephron. Then moving to its disorder. Disorders are hypoparathyroidism, and hyperparathyroidism. When we say hypo means causes lowering of blood calcium level increases excitability of nerves and muscles, causing cramps. Then it also leads to sustained contraction of the muscles of larynx, face, hands, and can cause parathyroid tetany or spasm. Okay, then is we can list it as sustained contractions of muscles. This hypo, and now hyper. Hyper is excess level of PTH. It draws more calcium from the bones, leads to demineralization, resulting in softening and bending of the bones. Sometimes there are cavities also which are formed, bones are deformed, easily breakable. Osteoporosis. Females में होता है ना osteoporosis, which is quite common in females and is especially common in those women who have reached menopause. Osteoporosis. An excess of parathyroid also causes calcium to be deposited in the kidneys. Alright, so basically what excess of calcium does? Softening and bending of the bones. Bones are replaced by cavities. Bones get deformed, easily fractured, and will cause osteoporosis. This is about thyroid and parathyroid.